Okay, so we're back in the workshop after the UK Monster Truck National. So I've got the monster truck out the trailer. I'm just halfway through washing it. Already done all the tyres, air done. So yeah, so I've sprayed the monster truck over now, and so it's got power maxed snow foam on it. So I just want to show you how good it is. If I can zoom in there, you can see that all of that is the mud residue from the track off the dirt ramp. So that was spraying up because it's slightly clay based, but let's show you how easy it is to get off. Okay, so that was clay-based mud. It's come straight the way off, no rubbing with a brush or anything, just power maxed. It has got power maxed summer jacket on it, which is it's really good. It's got nanotechnology in it, so it makes stuff harder to stick onto the paintwork. So that's how we keep Swamp Thing looking as good as we do. So this is my hydraulic tube bender. Now, it's a ratchet one this type, so it's got an electric pump on it. So what we're going to do now is make a new wheelie bar for the back of Swamp Thing. Okay, a lot of fiddling about to get that on there, but yeah, so the wheelie bar's starting to shake tape, so it's all bent up now. Now, the problem I have with my pipe bender is it doesn't like doing bends very close together, so that's why this is actually quite long. So yeah, the problem is it has to pull it round, so it isn't like drawn round. So yeah, so you can't get that bend and that bend very close together without actually putting a joint in it. So that's what we've had to do there. So that's why it's a bit spaced out, but this is at the wrong angle at the moment. So when it's back up, when it's fitted in, it'd actually be like that close to the bodywork, so it's nice and close. I made it a little bit taller than the last one, but what we've got to do now is we've got to put the pieces in here, put the tubes in there, the flat plate that goes on the end, and then we have to weld all that together then, because it actually bolts into these bolts here. Yeah, so that's what we got to make next. But now I've finished with the tube bender and all the tube. Let's put all that away, so then I can bring my trailer back in. So when you're welding pieces of metal together, the idea is to keep everything nice and straight and keep the gaps as small as possible. Now, if you're welding square stuff, that's fairly easy because it's all angles. But when you're welding tubes together, you get a problem, because if you just cut everything straight, you end up with really big gaps around stuff. So what you have to do is you have to put a fish mouth on it. Now, a fish mouth, it's exactly what it sounds like. So in the end of the tube, we actually put a fish mouth. So we actually cut it at an angle. So this one's for a joint at an angle. I've got some other ones down here. So if you was gonna cut it straight, for a straight 90-degree joint, you'd have a joint like that. So when it sits on, you see it sits really nice around the tube. So this is one that's at an angle. So it sits really nice around the tube. Now the way I do it, especially for ones at an angle, I've actually got a tube notcher. Now, if you was cutting a straight tube, you don't have to do anything at all. But what you want to do first, for one at an angle, you want to cut off a slight piece of it already nearly at the angle you want, because you're going to remove that anyway. So if you put it in the tube notcher without doing that, you actually end up, it takes longer, and also it wears out the belt. So let's put this in the tube notcher now, and let's see how quickly we can notch the tube. Okay, so this is my tube notcher already set up. So it's got an abrasive belt around a wheel, which is the same size as the tube we want to notch. So all we have to do is set the angle on this. You can actually adjust this. So if you wanted it straight, you could actually have it going straight in. So all we got to do now is start it up. It does get really hot. It has got lots of sparks that come out of it, so I've got eye protection on and stuff. But yeah, that's how quickly it notches a tube. So then all we do after that is we can lift up this top cover, and then we can just take off the burrs with it. So that's how quick it is to notch a tube using a tube notcher. So it's all welded up now. So all we got now is put the gusset plates on the side. We have to plug the end of this tube with another piece of steel, and then we can make the brackets to hold it onto the side here. Yeah, so the gussets are on now, so all we got to do is make up the brackets to connect the two pieces together. And we're done. So last night before I went home, painted the wheelie bar. That's all done now, so all the brackets are on it now. Just got this in, so I'm just resetting the rear suspension on it. So there we go, wheelie bar's all done. So the next thing I've got to do, my tailgate, the way it got smacked in at the back, I'm still going to leave the tailgate on for this weekend because it isn't actually that bad yet, but the tailgate's held on with little pieces of Lexan, and it's actually just cracked the bottom of it. So I'm just going to cut a new piece of this and drill the 4 holes in it for the tailgate, because I'm going to leave that one on for the moment. It's got a few scuff marks in it, but it isn't that bad. I can probably polish most of the black marks on it. It's just got a bit of damage at the bottom you don't really notice. I'll probably where the scratch is there, probably just touch that in a little bit. And then this is how vertical it was. This was dragging on the ground. So yes, I'm going to put brush some paint into that to make that nice and green, so you won't notice it when you're at a distance. So yes, I've just got to regas the shocks. Of course, Lucas Oil change again, so thank you Lucas Oils for supplying our oil. And then batteries are on charge already, and then it's just to go around it again. I've checked most of it. There's a couple of little bits I've just got to finish off, so I've just got to finish the tops of the shock absorbers, make sure they're all tight, and that's it. So the monster truck's then ready to load back into the trailer. So we're here at the Walsall show. So Claire and George, we just had a barbecue because it's actually the day before. So the monster truck's all out and built, but on the way up, the tractor unit got absolutely covered in bugs. So this is the easiest way to clean it, believe it or not, is actually to flip the cab over. So if you just want to see how big this engine is, so you think a monster truck engine's big, look in the back of that. So this is a V8 Scania, 16 litres. It's 670 horsepower. So this thing doesn't know what a hill is. So yeah, that's all right. Michael's just returned the forklift. That's what we set all the cars up with. So we've got fairly small cars in the show this week. There's a car crash, what we're doing. So, but yeah, so look at all the bugs on this. It's all over the lights, all over the knob light bars, all over the front. So, going to use some Power Max to get it clean. So let's get on with some washing. So all back together, that looks a lot better. Had to get those bugs off it. Really, really annoys me. having a dirty windscreen. So yeah, all looking good once again.
Come on.
Come on. Come on. Alright, so nearly showtime, just getting the final bit on the truck done, so using our tyre shine just to blacken up the tyres to make them look nice and pretty. Tyres are getting a bit worn now on the back, so we're going to be putting some new ones on it soon, but this is what we use to keep Swamp Thing's tyres looking great. So here's some of the action from the show. So we just finished the first show of the day, so I'm actually going around the truck now, making sure we got no loose parts. So we start off on the big stuff first, so we start with the 50 mils, then we go down to the 38 mil spanners, then we go to 28s, 19s, and then we finish off with 9/16ths and 5/8. So I've got a system to do the truck, so we can get it done in about 20 minutes. Okay, so we're back in the workshop after being to the Walsall show, checking through Swamp Thing. Now, before I get into it, I know there's some problems with it. When we was at the show, we had some really small cars, a lot smaller cars than we normally use. We normally use a car about the size of a Mondeo, and we had some that was the size of Fiesta. And what happens with that is, if the monster truck's wheels miss it, it actually hits the 4-link bars. So on this one on the front, you can see it's got a big scrape mark in it, and it has actually started to put a bend in it, so we got to change that. Now also on the planetary on the back, it's got the external bolts around the outside. It has sheared a couple of the bolts out in it, so we're going to have to replace that. So I got one of my other planetaries away, because I've had this problem a couple of times before where it's sheared the bolts. So I've actually dropped it into a local machine shop for me at Avonside Engineering in Melksham, and they're actually putting twice as many bolts in it. So they're basically taking the PCD, turning a little bit, and then putting a nut. So at the moment there's 10 bolts that hold it on. They're going to put 20 bolts in there to hold the thing on, so it spreads the load out throughout the bolts. So they've got one of them in there at the moment, so we've got to take that one off and get it ready for when they bring it back. So yeah, and then we just got to check through the rest of the monster truck. All the normal checks have done on it, because we do that before we put it away. But so the next thing we've got to do is replace that 4-link bar. Okay, so the first thing we got to do when doing the 4-link bars, changing them, is we've got to take the jam nuts off now. So the jam nut on this end's not too bad, because we can actually get to it. So we just basically pull up on the spanner and it comes undone. So that jam nut is now, see that jam nut now is loose. Now the problem we get on this end, there isn't a lot of room under there. So what I do is I've got the jack under there and I'm going to put the spanner onto it and then put the jack on it and then jack it up to rotate the spanner to undo it. It's a lot easier. If you try and do it by force, because there's not a lot of room under there, what normally happens, it's easier on the big wheels to tell the truth. What happens is it suddenly goes and you end up smacking your hand into something and it really hurts. So let's put the jack on it, jack it off, and loosen that jam nut off, and then we can take the 4-link bar out. Okay, so we've got the 4-link bar out now, so you can see there's a big gap here. So we have to undo the 1-inch bolt in this end, the 1-inch bolt in that end, and then it can drop out. It's quite a tight fit in there, but we have got it out. So now I've got it onto the bench, and you can actually see it's only just started to bend, but it is starting to bend now. So yeah, so the reason we do that, change it now and not let it bend anymore, is because once it does bend a lot, it will mess up the prop shaft on the monster truck. So it will mess up the prop shaft, which is in there in that guard. Also, it can mess up the suspension as well, because the suspension is working in a geometry that is not suited for. So yeah, so it's only just started to bend, but have a look at that. So yeah, you can actually see where it's starting to bend up, and that's all because it's landed on a really small car. These are really strong, but it had the whole weight of the monster truck on it, and it hit it a few times on this show. So yes, we're going to change it now, and then we won't have any problems for later. Okay, so the new 4-link bar is actually a repaired one. It's one that I've broken before. I've ripped out the insert in the end of it, because there's an insert welded in to the end of the 4-link bar where the rod end goes in. So the new rod end's in, all greased up, so if we have a problem with it, we can always get it out. You don't want to be struggling with something that rusted in there, because sometimes they do stay in there for a while. Yeah, so we've set the length of it now, so it's identical to the one that's come out. So we've put a bolt through it, measured it, put it all together, and it's ready to go back in. So let's put this under Swamp Thing now, back it in place, and then just apply some paint to it to make it look like new again. Okay, so the 4-bar link is now all back in under Swamp Thing, and I've gone over with a bit of sandpaper now, sanded it all up. All we're going to do now is put some paint on it, and that's it done. So that's that repaired. I will keep the other one that's got the slight bend in it, just in case we're at a show and I really do bend one up. So I've always carry a couple in the trailer, but it's nice. Also, we can use all my 4-link bars are all the same length for the top ones and the bottom ones. And also, if we go around to the back, it's easy to show it on the back. So also, you've got the tie bars, what tie the two sides of the monster truck together on the steering. They are the same length as the 4-link bars, so they're all the same length on my truck, so I don't have to carry loads and loads of spares. The only thing that is different, if you notice, this top one is a slightly different diameter to that one. So it's got a join here. So if I zoom into that, you can actually see how it's done. So yeah, and the reason for that is because the top one does hit the back of where the diff is. So if you have this, because that's a 2-inch tube, all these other ones are 2.5-inch tubes. So if you try and put that one in the top, you can't actually turn it. So we have to run a 2-inch one on there, and then we change it on the ends. But they're all the same length throughout the monster truck. So no matter which breaks, I've always got a spare one. Okay, so now we're on to fixing the planetary. Now, I've already taken all the bolts out, so we're all ready to drain the oil. So this is that thing I made a while ago in one of the other vlogs. So this is to take all the lifting out of taking the planetaries off, so we can use it again now and for the real this time. So it's the first time I've really had to use it since we made it. So let's get this thing apart. Okay, so I've just picked up this planetary that Avonside Engineering have modified for me. So you can see how many bolt holes it's got in now. So it's actually got 19. They didn't want to stick one in there because this bit isn't actually very thick. So that's where the drain hole is for the planetary. So it's got 19 holes. Now if you compare it to a standard one, that's what a standard one looks like. So they put a hole in every space all the way around. Now they did on the cover put 20 holes in it, so you don't have to worry about lining it up when you're trying to work out which one is that one. So in the cover there's actually 20 holes in it, so there won't be a bolt in one of the holes. But yeah, so that should solve my snapping bolt problem. Okay, so I've put the wheel tether on the back of the new modified planetary. So let's start as reassembling the axle so we can get Swamp Thing ready for Truck Fest, which is our next show.
Do you remember when we used to run away through the night? There is a story about us two, and it's written about me and you. Nothing can bring us down, 'cause we are together now. Not even time can stop us now, 'cause we are forever young. 'Cause we are together now. 'Cause we are together now. 'Cause we are together now. Nothing can bring us down. 'Cause we are together now.
That's it, so it's all lined up. All we've got to do now is put silicone in this joint and then put the bolts in and then top it all back up with some Lucas oil. Okay, so that should solve the problem of breaking bolts. Now look how many it's got in there now. So of course it's got that one missing at the top because we can't put one in that hole. But yeah, so there's 19 bolts in there now instead of 10. Okay, so we've topped up the axle with Lucas oil. All I've got to do is put the wheel tether on. Well, I was checking through the hub because this is an old hub that I've had lying around, and I just noticed it's actually got one wheel stud that's damaged. So I've actually got some spare ones. I carry spare ones with me just in case we do damage one at a show. So this is how we get them out. It's fairly easy. We just got a big spanner, big hammer, and then we undo it. And then undo the nut all the way off the back. And then we actually just smack it back through with the hammer. Now it is quite tight to get them out, and they normally come out at a hell of a speed. So that's that off. Stand back here. We have to get it lined up nice. So that's how you get the stud out, and to put the new one back in. It's very similar. So getting that to stud, it's got a chamfer on it, so it has to line up and it has to get in there in the right rotation. Just get the wheel nut, because we don't want to damage the threads by hitting it with a hammer. So we put the wheel nut back on it. You get the hammer. It's going in all right. Get the nut, put it back on it, tighten it all the way up. That's it. That's how quick you can change the wheel studs on a monster truck. That's it, so Swamp Thing's ready. Time to just finish washing the trailer. Come have a look. This thing comes up so nice. Use Power Max Wash and Wax on it this time. Look at that. You think it takes a long time to wash your car? You imagine trying to wash something this size, both sides of it, and the tractor unit. Yeah, takes a while, but Power Max makes it easy for you. So make sure you check them out. I'll put a link in the description below. But yeah, so it's time to load Swamp Thing up now. One day I will put the GoPros on it and drive it in there. I can't do it holding my phone. I have to steer the front and the back. It's so tight getting it in there. So let's get ready, off to Truckfest, and I hope to see you all there. So that's the end of the vlog for this week. So the Truckfest one will be coming soon. So we'll see you down at Shepton Mallet this weekend. Well, all depends when you're watching the video, but yeah, we'll see you all at Shepton Mallet for the Bath and West Showground for Truckfest Southwest.